So welcome everyone to the May 17th meeting of the Hadley Select Board. We're calling the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. And the first order of business is a consent agenda. And on our consent agenda this evening, we have minutes from March 8th, March 15th, and March 29th. We have two accounts payable warrants 1746 and 46A. And we have a payroll warrant 1744. We also have a letter of resignation from Kathy Zaturka, our Park and Rec Program Coordinator. We have a request for reappointment of Edwin Matusko and Angie Morris-Friedman, both members of our CPA committee. We have a letter of resignation from Jackie Lipinski, who is the administrative assistant at the police department. And then we have a transient vendor hawker peddler license application from Brian Galis with Vivint Solar.
Motion approved.
Second?
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any conversation?
Can I would just like to say how sorry we're to see you go, Kathy. You know, last night I watched the TV thing on Western Mass News that you did about the Zaturka Park. It was tremendous to let the people know what's transpiring with the park and how it's gonna evolve in the future, you know, and we're certainly gonna miss you and all your dedication that you've put into your job over the years.
Thank you very much.
Much
Absolutely.
appreciated, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
David?
just for clarity of the record, that you're acknowledging receipt of the two requests for appointment. You're gonna be making those appointments in June.
Correct, yep. So we're just acknowledging receipt of the request.
Yep.
Okay, and are you staying we have Park and Rec on the agenda this evening? You staying for that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So a side note, Dave, can you explain, I've had, people at my house the last couple of days that are, requesting information for solars. And I see tonight we have a hawker's license, which was issued. One of the people that came to the house did have it looked like a pass or something like that on a belt or something like that. But the other person was simply knocking on the door, explaining what they could do to provide solar service to us. What's the rules and regulations regarding hawker's licenses, and who should we be talking to and who shouldn't we be talking to?
Well, there's a couple of things that are operating here. First of all, if you're making door-to-door sales, there's an opportunity here for those sales not to be recorded for tax purposes. So the hawker, peddler, and transient vendor license issued by the town provides a record that allows the sales taxes to be collected by the Commonwealth from that transient vendor. So that's one issue, so that we know that someone who's applying for the license and is utilizing that license is complying with the tax laws of the Commonwealth. The other is just a public safety issue, that if you have a door-to-door salesperson who has not been vetted by the police department as this license requires, then that's obviously a concern. If anybody is approached at their home by someone offering goods for sale, please ask them to demonstrate that they've been in front of the select board and have the proper permit, and if not, then I suppose the next call would be to the police department. Chief, is that correct?
Yep.
Yep.
And how do we issue it? How is that known? Is there a pass or some type of?
They'll have this license with them. There'll be a license issued from our office,
Okay.
which they're supposed to keep with them at all times.
Just to add to the situation, the COG requested of me to give them an assessor's copy of everybody that has solar panels in this town, and I haven't done it yet. I don't know how to handle that. You know, if they can go get it themselves, but I don't wanna go and request it.
But then you've got two different kinds, is it just solar panel for electricity, or is it gonna be solar panels for water?
These are solar panels for electricity. They wanna get these people to convert over to them, to sign a new contract with them,
With the COG?
with the COG. They're
with
doing
Hampshire
that.
Power.
Hampshire
But
Power.
they asked you as the Hadley
To
representative
get the
them.
thing from the assessors, but, I didn't feel comfortable with doing that.
Yeah.
Probably through probably through building permit. You need building permit to put those on your roof, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
David, you have.
but they asked every member to do this
Yeah.
for them, for every town, and I don't know how to handle that.
I know that the Department of Energy Resources handles, keeps a tab on renewable energy of all types, town by town, and so they would have a list of who has what, whether it be a solar panel or anaerobic digester or some other renewable energy source. They'll have a complete list of that.
So wouldn't it make more sense for the COG just to go to
I would think
the
so, you know.
DER
but-
and,
Right.
But apparently there must be an assessed value on solar panels on your tax bill.
sure, but I'm just thinking
That's
just from
what
an
they're looking for,
efficiency
Who
standpoint.
has them, and they're thinking it'll
Yeah.
just pop up in the, the assessor's records, all of them at once on a computer sheet. I don't know.
Yeah,
It would certainly pop up with the building inspector for issuing permits, so.
Yeah, I would go through the building inspector as well.
yeah.
But DOER has this information online.
Mhm.
You could tell them that too,
Okay, so it isn't something I should be providing them.
not necessarily.
Then, okay, I'll tell them.
They have another means of doing it. than
Okay, all right, thank you.
DOE,
Mm, yeah,
Dell.
okay. Go where? What? Oh, I thought you said go.
No, just.
That was me.
Okay, fire substation and senior center update,
I got a call today from Jane Evans Smith. She asked me to do the update for
Yep.
the senior center, if that would be okay.
Absolutely.
Council on Aging is holding a public information forum on May 25th. There's actually gonna be two forums, one at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and one at 6 o'clock. Both of them at Hopkins Academy. The design for the building has been designed. The footprint for the building has been put together, and there may be some additional information that we'll add at the forum. But a lot of work's been done on it, and they'd asked people to come in and take a look at it. One of the things that I know they're looking forward to is that a lot of information was provided at town meeting. They didn't think there was enough restrooms, so we made some accommodations for that. So we're trying to make sure
25th.
everybody is included, and if they have some input onto it, that now's the time before the building is built and people move into it to tell us
Thursday,
what
right?
was right and wrong about it. So if you could
Yeah.
make one of them either at
Yeah,
3
it's
o'clock in the
like
afternoon or
6
6 o'clock, that'd be helpful.
What was that date again?
The 25th, May 25th,
Which is,
That's right.
next week.
it's a
It's Thursday, the 25th. It's a
Thursday.
Thursday, yeah. Okay. So that's it for the senior center?
Well, they're also doing Chicken to Go on June 11th, so I might as well put out there that that's going on. I think there's still tickets available, so.
Okay. And anybody for the fire
Fire
substation?
substation is not met yet since the last meeting. We're meeting next Thursday night, not this Thursday night.
Okay, so while the senior center forum is going on, you're having a fire substation meeting?
At 6:30, yeah.
Okay. All right, then on the agenda, we have, let's see, for new business, we have a general strategy and planning session. Do we wanna go there, or do we wanna go to Park and Rec?
Do the Park and
I
Rec
don't
first.
I don't see anybody from Park and Rec here yet, I know in this.
We got the resignation tonight, but I think we should be a little more sensitive than that.
All right, so I do not see any Park and Rec commissioners here
Right,
tonight.
and we're expecting them,
coming?
correct?
Yeah, they're on their way.
Thanks.
All right, so,
They're on their way?
They're on their way.
Did they text you?
right, so
No,
why
They
that's
don't,
John.
talked to me,
They talked to you?
they talked to me.
okay, so why don't we go to the general strategy and planning session first? Okay. David, you provided some information for us, right?
Looks
Right.
like they're all old.
The old is new, so.
Old is new, okay.
So we've been very aggressive about looking at our financial strategies, our structures, our processes, our functions for a long time. We've started back in 2008 and 2009 with reports, 2007 actually, going back to our original review of the Sewer Commission, which was an independent body at that time, as well as the Highway and Water Division, which was also handled separately, and we received 2 reports from the Department of Revenue. These are posted online. They're available either through the links provided on the agenda or go to mass.gov and look up the Department of Revenue, the Technical Assistance Bureau published reports. It's all right there. They made a number of recommendations, some of which we've implemented. The one major recommendation was the unification of the two separate bodies, the Sewer Commission and the Highway Water Commission, into a unified DPW, which we've done. They asked us to codify our bylaws, which we have done, and we've posted those online. We asked that we look at other processes within Town Hall, which we've done quarterly billing for sewer and water, which we've just newly implemented. There remain some issues that are undone. There's work to be done in terms of Treasurer's Office, Collector's Office, Assessor's Office, Select Board. So there are still some outstanding goals there. We went back and we asked for a overview of our financial position, which resulted in a report in 2013. Again, we have accomplished a lot of those goals, but a lot of these goals remain outstanding. Some are repeated from the 2007 study. And then finally we had the report under the Commonwealth Compact about our financial structure, which we've received and we haven't really dug into yet. They make a number of assessments of how well we're doing in terms of a town, particularly a small town facing big challenges. We should feel very good about the things that we've been able to accomplish, the successful OPEB strategy, the policies for financial management, the financial management team, the tri-board team, all of these things that we're doing very well, but they see room for improvement, and they focus in on IT, they focus in on the finance director, they focus in on a human resources director, they focus in on the overall charter of the town. You had two members of the Charter Study Commission come and visit with you, town manager of Foxborough and the town manager of Grafton. Came here and gave us an overview of some of the resources that were freely available through the Managers Association. And then finally we have, it's linked right here, the service delivery plan, which we prepared last year, which talked about the functions, the essential functions of each department, the overall organization of the town, the way it communicates, the legal basis for each department, as well as the funding and the staffing plan for each of those departments. So there's a lot of information that we have here. There are a lot of very clear recommendations about how Hadley has opportunities for improvement, and there's a lot of documented improvements that we've handled either on our own or by following the recommendations from prior studies. So that's generally the stage where we are. We had a long discussion during the budget process leading up to the annual town meeting about where our deficiencies are, particularly with respect to public safety, IT, financial management, HR management, and some of our revenue constrictions.
So what we talked about last time, at a recent meeting anyway, was coming up with a game plan. And I think we were all in agreement that that this summer there's an awful lot of work to get done in advance of the special town meeting in the fall. So taking, David's pointing out there's already an awful lot of information available to us, but then there are many, many, many other things that have come up in our conversations with our finance committee and with during the budget process. So just this morning I tried to put together a list to try to put kind of like-kind things into groups so that might facilitate if we're having a select board meeting and we want guests to come in and speak with us, that it makes sense that we're not with all these disparate topics going on. So I'm just going to run down this, and then what I was going to do is ask, I just sent it to David this afternoon, and he has some thoughts about modifications, and if I could send it to everybody and then you all chime in. So for general information, we talked previously about having somebody come in and talk about override options. Again, just and everything I'm saying, this is for education and fact gathering. This is not recommendation, but this is so that we can then make a decision on how to move forward. So previously, we had talked about having Terry Williams from the DOR, and possibly Sandy Pooler, who you had a conversation with, from Arlington, and previously with Amherst, and he was willing to come in to educate us on what different types of options there might be in terms of an override. We also should probably follow up on the charter discussion, the whole conversation we had with the folks that came in about a town manager versus a town administrator and what that might look like, and whether or not Hadley should be talking about such. We've talked about people-related costs, specifically going through the budget, the significance of certain line items. When, you know, one line item's 1.3 million and another line item's, you know, $20,000, where do you want to spend your time talking, and where might there be opportunity not only for cost savings, but also trying to mitigate the increase in those line items going forward. So in that regard, we had talked about Joe Shea from the Hampshire Franklin Trust coming in to talk to us about our health coverage and how that's operating. Donald had brought that up. Parker Elmore to go through the OPEB valuation, and again in the process finding out from them what are best practices across the state and other cities that they're working with. Well, but I mean, it's just about managing the liability itself. One's the funding it, and the other one is managing the liability.
I think we're ahead of them on that point.
Yep. We had talked about reviewing board stipends. So we have many boards that are, or committees that are functioning that aren't being paid anything. You know, finance, conservation, municipal building committee, school committee. And then we have other boards, elected boards, that are receiving a stipend. And then there's a very wide range of the amount of meeting that is actually occurring between those boards. So you think about the volume of work that the planning board is doing compared to some of the other boards. You know, does this make sense? I mean, how do we want to look at that going forward? And certainly a review of the wage study. I mean, we still have not really knuckled down and taken a look at how people are being paid, and are there any market adjustments necessary, or are, in some cases, are people way above market? Then public safety is its own area. We have fire department and police department staffing requests, and then related capital costs associated with that to dig into. I would like to see us resurrect the conversation about dispatch. Does it make sense to consider regionalizing? And the ambulance contract is under, there's a work group reviewing that. So again, maybe we could kind of look at all of that together. Administrative support, you know, again, from a staffing standpoint, we have issues because of the way we're structured. We've talked about administrative support where someone has 10 hours here, 8 hours there, 15 hours there. How do we better manage that pool of resources to everyone's benefit? Human resources is its own category. If we aren't able to hire a human resource manager in the short term, what can we do to bridge ourselves from here to there, because everybody's in agreement that it's an area of weakness. Information technology, same thing. A needs analysis from a project management perspective that would result in an actual implementation plan. Town administration and finance. David already touched on the DOR report, Commonwealth Compact, the audit report, and management letters. So digging into the recommendations that have not yet been implemented and deciding what direction we want to go in. The planning board's been very vocal that we need to be talking about a long-term solution for planning. And then just I have a general category of other. Are there any opportunities for consolidation or outsourcing, inspections, assessor's office, that kind of thing? So I was just going to shoot this around, and again, what I'm hoping is that if we can kind of agree on the content, that, and maybe folks could look at it from a prioritization standpoint, what are the most important areas to you to talk about? Get it to the finance committee as well so that they can chime in, and then David and I can work on prioritizing our agendas from this point forward. So that's selfishly where I'm going with this.
And where are you looking at putting this on the agenda? What point?
So I started working on draft agendas going through the summer. You know, obviously I want to hear from the select board what your priorities are, what do you think are the most important topics, but just trying to put some sort of calendar structure to this discussion. Mm-hmm. It's very clear that we're already in the preparation stages for the special town meeting. We need to start working on a framework of putting that together. in terms of deadlines for action items and due dates, but also what are the components of preparation. I recommend that we do the public forum because I've heard good things back from the community. Even by people who don't attend the public forum, I'm getting good feedback that it's helpful for them to have watched the YouTube so that they can walk into town meeting prepared and know what the general issues are. We talked about having some sort of budgetary process that would allow community input into the priorities of the town. And so there are things that we can start mapping out on a calendar as to how we want to put some sort of shape around this.
Yeah. I mean, it would be impossible to try to hit all of, you have one meeting dedicated to all of that, I think. I think we want to break it apart.
No, I agree, I just,
Yeah.
you know, I think if we prioritize them, to understand where the priorities are for each individual member, and also to understand if we're working along, for instance, our IT that we got today.
Mhm.
I mean, the fact that there's been money in the grant that's been given to us throws that into light years ahead of where we are as trying to fund it. If we have the money, it's available to us now, I mean, that's,
Then you can prioritize that up
Right.
on a list a little bit more.
And it was
rather
one
than
of the
talk
s-
about it.
it was one of the SWOT analysis things
Yeah.
that people were, and I think
Screaming
it's the
about.
most benefit to every individual in town hall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, those things are kinda easy, whether the planning, you know, I don't know how much we're gonna be able to do without getting their input into that, so unless I have their input, I mean, I hear from Bill, you know, that he's, you know, has a lot going on with the things that he's doing and going forward with, and I heard that there's a lot of space constraints. But
Mhm.
I also know that we talked about adding a piece of equipment that was gonna help them interact between
Mhm.
the inspector's office and their office, and I don't know how much of an impact that's gonna be, or if it's gonna delay or alleviate some of the pressures that they have on them.
Yep. And that's exactly the thought, Jerry. So if you know, we hit one of these areas and we want to invite people in, David and I just want to know so that we can plan ahead and ask them when they're available so that we can set those, set the agendas, you know, 'cause especially going into the summer because people have vacations. And
So when do you want us to prioritize this and get this information back to you?
could you do it before the next board meeting?
Which is,
You wanna send it to us?
Oh yeah, I will email it. There's just David wanted to add one thing to it, I think, so I will email that either tonight or tomorrow morning.
Madam Chair, you know what I would like to have done? Our tri-board is working so well now, and it's being attended with a lot of members, and I would like to get a fresh look on the town from our financial advisor, David Eisenthal. Let him look at it without any inside influence, and let him bring it to our next tri-board meeting and inform everybody what the situation of our town is. Maybe he'll even suggest our revenues can no longer sustain our operating budgets, and we have to look for an override. But I would rather have somebody independent come in with a fresh look and give us those answers.
Can David Eisenthal play that role, David?
He could only talk about our investment, not our investments,
Levies.
our borrowing.
Our bond rating.
Our bond ratings, so, but he would be part of a team who could speak to that issue.
Like
So maybe-
Linda and him could work
Yeah.
together on that, and there was some other people she was gonna get to work
Yeah.
like on a finance
You
committee
can have
Yeah.
the DOR take a look at our
with that too, the
Yeah.
DOR maybe, and
process.
Yeah.
it
Well,
would seem like a good
maybe the
kickoff
night-
meeting where
Yeah.
we could all be informed by these people.
Yeah.
Probably in a couple of years ago.
And maybe the night that Terry Williams comes in, if we could have David Eisenthal there as well. Right, and that, because that's
Yeah.
good, because they're really two different perspectives too, and sometimes people say, oh, well, that this is an absolute fact, and it's like, well, not from this person's perspective, like you're saying.
Your list is great, and I like your idea, but I would like, the initial phase to start, and then maybe we could get some prioritizing out of your list, which is the most important areas that we have to concentrate on in a systematic fashion.
Yep,
You know.
and this was all compiled from really all of our
It was this
conversations during
afternoon, it was
the,
real quick, I understand.
Yeah,
But
no,
there's
but I
a
mean, it's
lot,
from
you have
notes.
everything on there that needs to be looked at, there's no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But how we do it in the systematic way we do it is what we have to
Well,
organize, I guess.
How we prioritize.
Yeah, exactly, Joyce.
And what are we looking for override things? I mean, what is it, I know, the fire department's looking for an override.
school
I think
department.
The school
And-
department's.
well, they, don't
I-
forget their request was several $100,000 higher than what was actually,
But it came in at much less than that, so I was hoping that they found a means to an ends with financing some of that.
only short term. They
Okay.
made that clear, yeah.
Okay. I didn't see that memo.
No, but
That
you
was in the
have-
conversation with Annie, yeah.
And you still have to take into consideration what we've already asked the townspeople and what they've already voted on.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, getting this word out right now is like cringing some people.
Well, you know, the
Sure.
library's coming in, they're gonna be
I
looking
know.
for an override.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
exactly.
coming forward too.
Mhm.
So I
Well,
think.
they're not gonna look for an override, they're gonna look for a,
Debt exclusion.
debt exclusion, thank you.
As a
David.
board, I think it's our responsibility to put everything on the table.
Exactly.
And when the people make the vote, we've done our job.
Right.
Well, I'm not
You
saying
know.
we shouldn't do it, I'm
Yeah.
just saying
Yeah.
that this is a tough time right now to be bringing this up or whatever, but we have to do it.
Well,
so.
again, I mean, I think if we're putting everything on the table,
Mhm.
everything needs to be on the table and fully vetted before we ever ask the taxpayers for another nickel of,
Mhm.
a tax rate increase. And that's why I think it's so important that we roll through all of these other areas
Mhm.
and say, is this of paramount importance? Do we really need these staffing changes, capital equipment, whatever it is?
Mhm.
And is there anywhere else we can look to even partially fund some of it to mitigate that impact of a potential tax increase?
Or maybe we're doing something wrong, Granby just cut their taxes.
Oh,
You
that's-
saw why though, right? Did you wanna finish that statement, or you wanna just leave it out there?
You turned around and jumped right after me.
Well, okay, so their taxes, or they're paying less for their garbage disposal, so they got a dime off on their taxes. I mean, it looks great on paper, but that's the truth. I read that, I was a little concerned myself.
Well,
Yeah.
Sunderland just proposed an override and it went to the voters and they denied it.
That's
Yeah.
correct. Very
And
close, but they did.
Southampton went for an override, a little over 100,000.
And they got
But
it.
they got it at town meeting, but now it's gotta go before the voters.
Right.
And we'll see the aftermath
vote
of that
cycle.
also,
Yeah.
you know, and,
So I mean, the residents expect us to do our homework before we get up.
I think so.
So that's what this is about. Okay, so David and I will shoot this list out, and then if you could, again, priority, and please feel free to
Add to
add,
other.
delete. And would everybody be comfortable, just in the spirit of time, can I send it to the finance committee at the same time?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Is that going to be on May
31st.
31st? We have a meeting on the 31st?
You know, just a way to reflect back, as a board.
I don't think.
I know myself,
Get it
I
all
thought
done
maybe
in
out of those
January.
9 ballot questions,
Mhm.
maybe 3 or 4 would make it. And I was astonished when all
Yeah,
9
all 9 of them
passed,
went.
so I guess the education process is a big factor, educating people
Yeah.
of the situation and why it's put before them.
Yeah.
And I think that's gotta be done.
Mhm.
And it was done properly the last time and they accepted it.
So
No,
I think
love
if
it.
we get feedback, at least
Yeah.
for next week's meeting, David and I could take a first pass at starting to schedule some of these things in,
Right, we don't have a
Right.
meeting on the 31st.
right? I think it's the first week
It's the
of June.
24th, we have one on the first
Right.
week of June.
David, you want to say something?
Yeah, just one of the big pieces that's moving around out there is the library grant.
Yep.
We'll find out in July as to whether they received that grant, and
Yep.
if they did, how much it's going to be, what is the state's match going to be. Linda, David Eisenthal, and I had a conversation about scheduling some real hard budget discussion in July, like second week of July. So just want to let you know that would be a good time to be talking about the overall financial picture.
So maybe that's
Moving
when we
forward.
try to get the DOR and,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that makes sense.
When was the last report we got from the DOR? It was prior to me getting back on the board.
Oh, that's been a while.
Has it been a while?
2000 and,
We had them in
13?
too, remember?
I'm sorry.
Years ago we had them, I didn't know if had the DOR done a recap again?
yeah, no, June,
Yeah,
isn't that June
Re-
2013?
recap?
is that, yeah,
No.
it was probably 3 years ago. I
No,
think.
it's this,
4,
isn't
he
this,
said.
4?
isn't it right here?
Yeah,
That
June
wasn't-
2013.
Oh, yeah, 13.
That wasn't for the whole town though,
No.
was it?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we're 4 years out
Yeah.
If you don't count the one that they just did for us,
in 2013.
2016.
16.
yeah. The Commonwealth Compact was done by the Department of Revenue.
Oh, yeah, we're looking at, well, I think of that separately.
Right,
I
okay.
think
Yeah.
this was the original DOR report,
Right.
Correct.
yeah, and then, right. And some of the same
Mhm.
recommendations, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so is everybody comfortable with that then?
When's our next meeting, Joyce? Did you
Next
say it was
week.
the
Next week.
24th?
Next
Okay.
week.
Yep.
We have the 31st off.
Mhm. Because we're marching. We'd be exhausted.
I suppose it makes sense to work on your list and try to get as much information as we can before we schedule a tri-board meeting.
I think so, and
That
I'm
makes
certainly
sense,
the
I think,
tri-board
yeah.
meeting, definitely
It's-
wanna schedule for the, when we do have Terry Williams and,
We do have a buy always.
yeah.
So
And the
that
finance
makes
committee
sense.
sounds like they're
And we
planning
can
on coming.
Group those people together and that would be the next tri-board meeting.
Mhm.
Even if
That
this-
would make
You
sense.
don't know, even
Right.
if the school's got a little input, get it over them too. School committee and their reps can come in at the tri-board meeting with their thoughts.
Should probably have the schools, actually, I didn't even have the schools on here.
How many meetings have they
Yeah.
had since the new elections, Donald?
One.
The what?
How many meetings has the school committee had since the election?
Monthly. Once a month they only meet.
So they
one
just had
meeting?
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll, copy it to Annie, too, Annie McKenzie. And Heather Klesch is the new chair, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All right, does that sound like a plan?
The Finance Committee got any comment or input?
You good so far? Okay.
So when do you want this back by, next week?
Yeah, if we
Well-
could before,
Can't we just bring it with us? You want it written back to you?
only because if we were actually trying to schedule people in, but that's fine.
Why don't you, we know.
Yeah.
We already know we want you to, I'm assuming, because the rest of the board spoke an interest, in having those first two you mentioned, so,
Mhm.
financial people in first and then go from there.
Well, what David was saying is it probably makes sense to hold off and have them come in July when we have more known information about the library grant and the like. So we'd probably do some of these other
If
things.
Did
the
you say-
library doesn't get their grant, I mean, it completely changes the picture.
All right, we were talking about ranking this, what kind of ranking do you want, so everybody's on the same page with some type of system?
Yeah, I think the ranking would be,
1 to 5?
yeah, just prioritize, like in terms of what you think absolutely positively
One
needs to
being the
be,
most or five being? the
one
most?
being the most important, yeah. Okay. And David,
You
the
could format that too, please,
Sure.
if when you get the thing, if we could format it based on these 10 things
Mhm.
that you provided us with a 1 through 5, so everybody's working off the same sheet, please.
okay. And David, the area that you wanted added,
I characterized it as a logjam.
yeah,
That there are parts of the town that could either operate more smoothly or communicate more effectively.
so
with
operational efficiencies.
operational funding, communication.
Yep.
That I think that we need to address in order to go to the taxpayers and say that we're handling your money and your organization the most effectively as we can.
Okay.
Right.
Sounds good. Okay, so I will do that. I'll do that tonight, actually, because I'm going to be leaving early tomorrow. Okay? All right. Park and Rec? Welcome.
We have a copy of a resignation letter that was submitted by Sarah Palmisano, so we want to officially recognize that.
For Commissioner.
From
Yeah.
Park and Rec Commissioner, yes. So, have you seen a copy or are you aware of that?
We have.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wanted to officially acknowledge that. We also have a letter of interest and intent from Marian Noonan. That was submitted to downstairs, right, to the town hall? So we just wanted to, get all of that on the record and find out about that transition.
How does this work?
Yeah, how does this work?
How does it work? It's governed by Massachusetts general law that whenever you have a vacancy on a body where you have elected officials, you have to send a notice to the select board in the 30 days of the creation of the vacancy, which happened. Select board has to give 1 week's notice And then the two bodies get together, and by roll call vote, they elect the person from whatever submissions they have.
Has a 1 week's notice been notified?
No, we haven't, we've just received the notice from planning board, so we have to give the notice of
Park
1
and
week.
Rec.
Park and Rec,
So
sorry.
if we acknowledge that this evening, and we have a meeting next
Next
Wednesday,
week.
we'd be able to vote on it next week.
You can.
Okay.
And then the term is for, is it a 2-year or
I think it's to
finishing
the-
out?
It's the balance of Ken's term.
Ken's term.
1 year, right?
Yeah, 1 year.
So 1 full year, 1 more full year, okay.
Yeah, to the next election.
Okay.
Are we required to advertise that opening like on the local television station in case there's other people out there that are interested?
Well, that's.
There may be people that don't know there is a vacancy.
That's it, it's an elected position, and so you, in light of the fact that we can't have an election in between now and next
So-
Wednesday, we have to give
so-
at least some sort of notice. That notice would be posted on the bulletin board downstairs. Obviously, it's being broadcast by television to the viewers right now, so that's all you have to do, but you do have to give notice, so in case there's somebody who's interested.
I acknowledge, and let's do that, but we had an
Yeah.
election in April. At that point in time, there was one person involved. We have a person that wants to do it now, so.
Right.
I'm glad you stepped up, and thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Let's go forward with the process.
just the process, I'll be happy to do that for
Okay.
you.
So we'll put it on the agenda again next week,
Yep.
same thing?
Yeah, and so it'll be a posted meeting of the Park and Rec Commission and the Select Board, and by a roll call vote, you choose the person to fill the vacancy.
And if I'm the only one here, like if he can't be here, how does that work? And then there was
Let's take
one.
a quick
You
look.
carry plenty of juice for me.
Yeah. Right?
I can give him that vote in absentia.
Are you available by cell phone? Are you local or?
Yeah, can you do remote
International,
participation?
I'm not really
Oh,
sure
no.
how
Yeah.
No, he's
Yeah.
out of the country, okay.
Just being on Hadley's out of the.
When you leave? Oh, I forget, I'm sorry.
Can we, I mean, is it urgent, or can we, if,
Yes, I mean, we have our programs coming up for the summer, so,
yeah,
I mean,
They're
Right.
already planned. and-
they're planned, but we also have your resignation, so we wanna start moving forward with things as the Park and Rec Board
yeah,
would need to get going with.
okay. The only reason I was asking, I was
Yeah.
wondering if we could wait until the week Andy's,
He's
Back
not here
and
the
then-
following week either.
I'm still out, so I'm sorry.
So, cause I was kind of already knowing that.
yeah, okay.
Then it would be 3 weeks and.
Yeah, and then we're the first week of June,
Yeah,
so.
Tom?
Can Andy appoint a stand-in for him?
proxy?
I don't see anything in the law. I mean, I think what we do is we give the 1 week's notice. You post, we'll see what we can do, and then we'll take it from there,
Okay.
you know.
So I'll at least
Yeah, it seems like
be
we ought to
here
be able to
and-
make it work.
I
Yeah.
could submit
How
something
about
in
like a
writing.
sealed signed
Email,
vote?
will you be able to email?
Hmm?
Absent, sealed
I don't
signed,
really know
absent
my
vote from
connection down there.
Let's try
Isn't
remote
that great?
participation. I think
Great.
that's the best way to do it.
Except Andy's not gonna be available for remote participation. Gotcha. Okay, let's try that.
Yeah.
I'm sure we
That's what
can.
I'm saying, a
Okay.
signed sealed thing, yeah.
Mhm.
Go into the clerk's, town clerk's office.
Maybe submit it
David
to
will-
the town clerk. or
And if the
Yeah.
proxy is an available option, do you have a proxy that you could nominate for us tonight? Sure. Okay.
But if he's not gonna be here anyway for a couple of weeks, then what can you do about the future? I'm just
Well, if we get,
suggesting.
if we get
Oh, you
Marianne
have two
appointed.
votes.
Yeah,
I
two
got
votes.
it.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, we just need to have
Perfect.
a quorum,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect, I didn't wanna stress anything.
Okay.
out, but-
All right, so do we want to agree that we're starting the meter running now for the week, and we will let David figure out the
Let me work my magic.
rest of it.
parameters of that.
Let me do the magic that I do.
Yeah, okay. All right, and then, yeah, do we need a motion for that?
Second?
Okay. Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay. And then, since we've got Park and Rec here too, with Kathy's resignation is effective June 30th, and there's some nuances about hiring in terms of how we move forward, David?
Yep.
So can you recap the rules are?
The rules are, this is a department head, so it has to be posted downstairs and published in the newspaper of general circulation.
Okay, and then who does the,
That would be the select board, would be the hiring and firing authority.
For Park and Rec?
Yep,
No.
yep.
No, they've always hired their own.
in that?
Didn't we do that last time around? That Park and Rec made the recommendation.
Oh, yeah, you make a recommendation.
yeah, so
we have to
you
be
wouldn't be
involved in
We did
out
the
of it.
interviewing and
Right.
the
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
vetting and then.
Yeah,
Right.
but you, but
submit a
for,
But then,
recommendation.
then it comes back,
Yeah.
back here.
yeah.
Okay.
What about in terms of, a temporary role until we found the successful candidate?
The temp position.
Interim?
Yeah,
Interim?
interim.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that's a vendor relation, that's a vendor relationship, so sure, there's no trouble there.
Right, but again, Kathy's on staff until June 30th,
Mhm.
right? And if
But
you don't
we
mind
wanna-
my asking, do you have a lot of, are you gonna be gone in June?
I don't plan on
Vacation or?
being gone much of it. I do
Okay.
have some personal time that I'd
Mhm.
like to use up.
Okay,
I have no
But this-
specific plans.
Right,
Yeah.
but this is also Kathy has kindly given us more notice than like a 2-week turnaround or
Yeah.
something like that, so we can do that, but if we can get someone where she can do a little bit of transitioning,
Mhm.
this is going right into our summer program, so,
right,
Yeah, we're
That
week
would be-
2, right.
yeah,
okay. And the other thing, and I just wanna.
in mind?
yes.
The other thing I'd like to throw out too is one of the things we talked about last time is, you know, because of the budget situation we're in, when we do have turnover, it's a good time to kind of think about the programming going forward and, you know, reflecting on what the Park and Rec program is gonna look like, what resources, are you all set over there? No. Well, what's new? Nothing. Okay. So I would like to make a recommendation, though, that we don't post this position yet until we've had a chance to spend more time talking to Park and Rec about what the needs are going forward. Because it's not obvious to me that we need to replace the position with the number of hours that we're currently incurring right now. And I think we need to know more about programming. They've been very vocal about not having space needs met. So I think it would behoove us to take a little bit of think time rather than just pull the trigger and plow
I'd
forward.
rather go forward with an interim, understanding the programs that they already have in place.
I'm not talking about the interim, yeah,
Okay.
not talking about the interim,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Things, I don't wanna stall it
We
because we have
also have
time.
an issue with the mall, so,
Yeah.
We should have
that may
somebody in
have,
place there.
that's our only
temporarily
place for
anyway.
programming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
To
okay.
fill the,
We have to.
yeah. Yeah, but just before that individual or before we actually post for a full-time
Yeah.
benefited position again.
This position was approved in this fiscal year budget, correct?
Mhm.
And that budget expires next June 30th?
You have
July
funding through
1st to
June.
July 1st.
Right.
Yep.
July,
The position's been funded already.
July 1st to June.
Correct.
30th.
or FY 18,
Mhm.
so that's,
Mhm.
so 2 Julys from now,
Right.
2 Julys from now.
yeah.
Yeah, the funding
First.
is there, but again, what we're talking about, what I'm talking about is just not just immediately plowing forward and saying, okay, here's the job description, this is our pay scale, this is the number of hours, these are the benefits that are being applied. I think we begin looking at everything we were just talking about, I think we really want to hone in on our priorities and does it make sense? That, I mean, the time, if any change is to be made, the time to make it is when there's natural attrition. So, again, I'm just saying, before we post the job, you guys are gonna bring in an interim, we've got until June 30th, that we should probably have a conversation, a more focused conversation before the end of the fiscal year about it.
Before June 30th.
Which, is that,
Yeah.
When y'all get back from your vacations.
yeah.
You're always going.
Yeah, I was gonna
Exactly.
say,
I
yeah.
don't.
I had to say
Zero
that.
my business.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
So I will see you next week.
Okay, and
Yes.
we'll figure out how to get Andy's vote in
Right.
here.
and Andy will be here in spirit.
I doubt he will.
I doubt he will, yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure about that one.
Mhm.
Are we on TV?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, anything else for Park and Rec?
Nope.
Nope.
We're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, oh. Yeah. I don't think I'd go to jail over it, but yeah, that would be the right thing to do, thank you. Okay, so boards and committees update requests.
Gonna try something.
David, am I supposed to read this, or you?
That's for you.
Okay. So just go ahead and.
Try something new and different this year of being a little bit more active in terms of recruiting for our positions so that need to be reappointed for the coming fiscal year.
Okay, so the select board and the town clerk are requesting that all boards and committees update their members list. We will reappoint all boards and committees as needed at the end of June for the upcoming fiscal year to make this a smooth reappointment year. We'll be sending letters, emails to all boards and committees asking for the following information: the reorganization of board committee, so who's the chair, co-chair, alternates, any resignations, new members, terms, vacancies or non-acceptance of reappointments, any appointments to other committees that are required by the board. So for example, if the finance committee has an appointed member to the CPA, identify who that individual is, and the best means of contacting the chair, cell phone, email, whatever. So plan is that we'll mail these out on May 18th, which is tomorrow, and we're asking all information be returned by June 14th. So if there are any questions, please contact Jessica Spanknabel or Jennifer Sanders James. And they are thanking everyone in advance for their cooperation. Okay? Anything else, David, on that?
Is there a way for us to get the openings listed in advance? I know we're waiting for these to come in there, but we know some of the locations where there's openings. If we can, in the recruiting phase of this, if we can point out some of the openings that are available.
Right, there is a part of the website that talks about vacancies and positions open, so I'll make sure that that's been updated.
It's been on Channel 5 like forever, most of the ones that are still open for
Yeah.
one member.
Okay.
So we'll make sure we do that.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. David, highlights from your town administrator report?
Okay, so they're working on the Bay Road Bridge. Looks like it's going to be a 16-week project, weather conditions permitting, and then they're going to replace that bridge completely in 2020. We're working on the town parking lot paving project. That procurement issue is ongoing, and that project is expected to be done this summer. We're down to punch lists on the Route 9 widening, and I know that they had a meeting concerning the parking lots over at the Legion and the town parking lot. The Route 9 widening 2021 update. This is a kind of like a big deal. Last September, the Mass DOT came and met with the select board and described a project of widening Route 9 from Middle Street to East Street, and we talked about replacing water and sewer lines at a discount under there. At a stakeholders meeting with Mass DOT last month, they described a project which was much larger in scope, from Middle Street all the way to South Maple Street and beyond. This is an enormous opportunity for us to replace sewer lines, water lines, and stormwater infrastructure at a steep discount. But just the magnitude of the project means that it's going to be a real challenge for the town.
Ballpark, we paid how much, 300,000 for a quarter of a mile?
It's like 200,000, a quarter of a mile. We're going to be returning at least $70,000 back on that project, and we probably saved an additional $150,000.
But from here to the mall, prognosis, the number would be?
$100 a foot.
And how many feet?
Well, how many feet in a mile? So
5,280.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that would be per line. So
Per sewer line, per water
Get your
line.
calculator going.
And if it
Finance.
goes down both sides of the road, you need to take that into consideration also.
that's
much?
right.
Sewer line isn't that old to the mall, is it?
500,000 or more.
500,000.
That's at 1 mile at
You know-
$100 a
You know,
mile.
if they're gonna change this into a whole capital project, and I really wanna push for some grant money from the state
Well,
or from federal.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things going on. We're getting the heavy push to have a lot of ducks in a row by June 1st. That's just not gonna happen. The project of this magnitude, to have enough information available to Mass DOT so that they can have a 25% complete plan sometime in June, not doable. So we need to bring them in and present to the select board exactly what their project is. I also think if they're not willing to defer the project or do this in smaller chunks, then we need some heavy hitters in our corner with funding, as you said, grants, state aid or federal aid that would that we could qualify for.
Well, in university, I would hope that they would be a strong advocate, because in large part, the traffic's heading in their direction.
You know, we've spoken to both of our legislators, we've talked to Pioneer Valley Planning. I mean, everybody's on board with what's going on here and with the needs.
Mm-hmm.
But every time we turn around, District 2 pulls a little stunt like this and throws the whole project in instead of another quarter or half a mile.
Yeah, cause you're talking $3 million by the time you do water and sewer, it's gotta be 3 miles, and you're talking $500,000 a mile on each. So you're
Mhm.
talking $3 million bucks, it's a
Yeah.
lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a
No, not
hu-
$500,000 a mile, $500,000 for 5 miles.
No, no.
You said $100
Foot.
and it's and we calculated for a mile. What's the
It's
actual distance?
5,280 feet,
Oh,
so.
okay.
So I'm a
What's the
little
actual
light.
distance?
3 or 4 miles or something like that.
And is it,
No,
you
it's-
said it's
yeah,
$100
probably
a
3
foot for
miles.
every pipe that goes under there?
Yeah.
So it could be many hundreds of dollars for
Well,
foot.
it's, I figured two, one for water,
Yeah.
one for sewer.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's $1 million a mile.
I mean, these are back of the envelope kind of
Yeah.
calculations.
Yeah.
That's how we
But
start.
we're talking
That's
big
how we
numbers.
start.
Mhm.
You know, and when we had them in here, we discussed them getting that Bay Road Bridge done, them possibly getting Dwyer's Bridge done. You know, the island of Hadley here around the town hall, before they dig up another section of road, they really ought to fix some of the bridges and some of the other access roads to get the 40,000 cars a day around Route 9. You know, the next section is not gonna be as easy as diverting traffic down Bay Road and East Street, you know?
So I have asked for a
Well, chief, am I correct or not?
You've asked for what, David?
I've asked for a meeting with Mass DOT. I've asked them to come back and meet with the
Yeah.
select board. We can talk about this.
Get
You
them on the
touched on the
agenda.
Russellville Brook. That is on the tip for 2019. That's a $900,000 project that the state is gonna pay for.
I mean, they took that whole thing over, that was a good thing.
That was a very good thing.
Good thing. Okay, so you just sent that email today, so more to come from DOT, right?
More to come.
What was
What-
their
what is-
reasoning why they wanna extend all the way to say South Maple Street now versus sections?
It sounded.
This cost savings or
I actually
bring
don't,
down?
I actually don't know. It
I
was
think
the first
federal
we'd heard of
money's
it.
gonna be released to the state, and that's gonna be part of the state's big picture. That's,
They're banking on infrastructure funding?
yeah, that's what it sounds like. And again, when they were here, they said if it's ready to run with, that they were going to do it, so that's probably why they're pushing this ahead a little.
But we live in the real world, and the president of the Senate is from Amherst, so, I mean, we've never had as much juice as we do right now. So if this project is getting done because Senator Rosenberg has an ability to get it done, he's got strong ties to the University of Massachusetts, and I'm sure he
Yeah.
would love it done sooner rather than later. They've
Right.
worked very hard on what they're trying to do, and I think that's probably where the world is ending up.
That would be
Right.
my guess.
So we want to take advantage of as many opportunities as possible, and partnering with Mass DOT is going to be a huge savings to the ratepayers and the taxpayers. But we want to do this right, and we want to do it as completely as we can and as rationally as we can. So more to follow.
Okay, anything else from your report?
The roundabout, I saw that was part of the overall prospectus as well.
Yeah.
When is that slated to be done?
At the Coolidge.
2018.
Yes, at the Coolidge Bridge.
2018, 2019.
Thank you.
Wait. Where are they gonna put a roundabout?
The bridge.
Over the bridge.
Northampton side of the bridge.
Damon Road.
They rejected the flyover idea, and now we're going with a roundabout.
And who takes care of fire and police on that side of the bridge?
Not us.
No, he's going, no.
Not us.
That's a disaster.
The town lane's in the middle of the bridge. Actually, the sign's on the Hadley side.
Thank you.
Anything else, David?
Okay, roofs and HVAC, fire substation updates, things are moving along. We should mention that the Historic Commission has raised a question about the status of the site of the fire station. That's something that we're reviewing with council. Basically, I think our fate is in the hands of the Supreme Judicial Court, and they should be making a ruling this summer, which should provide a clearer, more relevant case law than we currently have right now.
It hasn't been pushed, though. I mean, there was a letter that was sent to us, but there's been no push.
Right.
Commonwealth Compact IT, we got the grant, $50,000.
Thank you.
That's a priority.
Yep.
All right, just running through here, I'll let you read all the details here. Sewer clarifier update. We had our pre-construction meeting today. The notice to proceed was sent out on May 3rd, so the project is due to be completed no later than October 31st, and we're hoping for the end of September. So that project is now underway. Special town meeting, we talked a little bit about that, but we're already beginning to work on the issues there. End of year spending controls, the departments have been notified. 5-year capital plan update, the departments have been notified that the 5-year capital plan needs to be updated, and that's due back on June 30th. OPEB actuarial, our unfunded liability dropped by $487,000. That's very good news. The audit is expected to be completed by May 26th. This is our annual audit, and I've tentatively scheduled a presentation for June 7th with Melanson and Heath.
Can we get a listing on when the quarterly bills will be going out, the actual dates and when they'll be going out, please?
We have to finish the reading first.
Just tell me
next week or
when it
two.
is, so not when the billing's going out, so that we can, if we need to notify the citizens for upcoming town meetings.
Right.
So that we can have some prospectus as to when it's
I
going
was-
to be available with our postage.
I'm glad that you raised that, because it was something I was thinking about as I was driving on the New Jersey Turnpike yesterday, is that we need that we should prepare an insert with the water sewer bills so that people realize that it's a quarterly.
Quarterly bill.
And this is the reason why we're doing it.
And not think it's Christmas in May.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in 3 more months.
Right.
Yeah, my water bill's half what it normally is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
All right.
Okay.
There are other details there, but I think I touched on the highlights.
Okay. We do have an executive session scheduled tonight, so is there anything else before we go into announcements?
2 more, your hit list on your Route 9. The no turn on red signs,
Letter was sent?
letter was
Yeah.
sent,
Okay.
and, I don't know, I mentioned it to Marlo, I don't know if he remembered or not, but they put a pedestrian sign right in front of the flashing light in front of the superintendent's office that blocks the flashing light for school zone.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they can lower it or move it, I think it needs to be addressed.
I think we need more of those pedestrian alerts out there.
Yeah.
I've seen some. I know that we had a very bad traffic accident involving somebody out in Most Holy Redeemer last month who really got hit by a car and is still in hospital, I think.
They're not even slowing down with those
yeah.
new signs.
Yeah.
with
So I
those new
think we need more
signals.
signs out there. We need some sort of illumination. I know that those crosswalks are slated for upgrades, but I think that's going to take a couple of years for Mass DOT to do that kind of work.
Well, and the other thing that's happening at the corner here is they put the sign back up that says no turn on red. You've got 2 lanes. And then on the right-hand side, it says left lane, turn only.
Yeah,
And you got
they,
people pulling straight, and even though
are they
that
gonna,
isn't how the traffic pattern ever worked, they're
Yeah.
both merging into one lane.
are
in
they
front of
gonna
the highway.
finish putting the permanent markers in the road soon? That's the major issue with that.
Yeah, there's nothing
Yeah.
painted to say.
Yeah, I think that's on the punch list with
Okay.
the project.
Okay.
All right, I think that'll alleviate that problem. But again, the no turn on red sign is pretty important, because when they were gone, there really was no issues, and we went through it with the chief, and I thought we had decided to make sure that they were removed.
That's what I.
We voted on Wednesday, and they put them up on Friday.
They're bigger. They're bigger than they were.
Yeah,
Probably they put them back up, but they made them
Made 'em
twice the
bigger.
size.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else before we close out here?
Couple of announcements.
Joyce?
Okie dokie. We'll start off with condolences to two families in town. To the family of Marjorie Fidenkevich, we'd like to send our condolences to them. And to the family of William Pellissier, our condolences to them also, lifelong residents of Hadley.
Upcoming events, we have the tractor pull contest this weekend at North Hadley Sugar Shack, May 20th. We have the asparagus and strawberry supper at the First Congregational Church that evening, the 20th. The public forum for the Senior Center preliminary design is May 25th. Again, that's next Thursday. There'll be one in the afternoon at 3 o'clock and one in the evening at 6 o'clock. Please attend. Asparagus Festival on the Common will be on June 3rd. Chicken to Go for Friends of Council on Aging is June 11th. And Polish Dinner at Most Holy Redeemer Young Men's Club is going to be on July 30th. Upcoming events.
It's a polka mass too,
And a polka mass, that's right.
polka mass. Here's the June 3rd festival for the Hadley asparagus.
Isn't it asparagus?
Yeah, we're the capital of the world, so
Yep.
June 3rd on the town common. We also have the Hadley Memorial Day Parade at the American Legion. That starts at 10:45 for those that will be going to the cemeteries, with the main parade at 2 p.m. Everybody will meet at the Legion, and if you need to, you can sign up to march. You can bring a float. You just need to contact some people, and that would be John Carish, Tom Stolarski, the Legion, Kathy Zaturka, and Jean Baxter. So all of them can help you, assist you in helping to make our parade great as it usually is. And then we also have Hadley Town Departments can compete for bragging rights in Hadley's first annual cornhole tournament. And that's going to be, which department is the best in town? Come find out. Friday, June 23rd. Rain date is Friday, June 30th. Hosted by the Goodwin Memorial Library at our summer reading kickoff party, 2017. 5 o'clock, open tournament for kids of all ages, 2 to 102. And 6:15 Town Departments Championship. Double elimination, trophies presented to two top teams. 2 people per team, 1 team per town department. Free hot dogs and candy, cotton candy is going to be served. Bring a picnic lunch and your whole family. Sign up in advance. To register, call Tom Waskevich. He's also at Waskevich at umext.umass.edu.
Edu?
Edu.
I'm sorry. My Polish roots just kicked in. Edu.
Edu.
Dot edu.
Dot
Okay.
edu.
That's UMass Education.
Yes, it is.
Edu is better.
Edu.
Contact Edu.
All right, anything else tonight?
Not for me.
If not, then do we have,
Motion.
I know we had the invitation sent us for the Consular's Town and Gown. I can't make it. That's May 25th. Is anybody going to represent us?
that is next Thursday, yeah.
You,
I'm
so
hoping
good,
to.
good.
David's going?
David's going
Right.
to, great.
Anybody else going?
Just wanted to make
I'm
sure.
probably going to be at the seniors.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'll
Okay.
be, fire station.
Okay,
Okay.
so we do have an executive session scheduled this evening. And who would like to do the honors of reading?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the
provisions.
provisions of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and it is in regards to the police department.
Okay. And as chair of the select board, I declare that holding any discussion related to this in open session could have a detrimental impact on the town of Hadley.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call?
Moskowitz.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Shongle.
Yes.
Kachensky.
Yes.
Okay, good night, everybody, thank you.